Neil Coulson, we've got a panel for AI for data management, a game changer. Our moderator is Neil Coulson behind me, Senior Manager Data Literacy from Transurban. His panelists are Shaun, Senior Advisor at EDM Association, Scott Delaney, who you heard doing our keynote, and Zornitsa Manolova, Head of Data Quality Management and Data Science at GLEIF. And I'm sure she'll explain what that means when she's on. So anyway, but before that, let's do a video. Thanks, guys.
Hi everyone. Hello. Hi. Hi. All together now? Hi everyone. Hi. Excellent. You've all come back from lunch very energized. I love it. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Neil Coulson. I am the Senior Manager for Data and AI Literacy at Transurban, and I have before me an esteemed panel of guests, Scott, Zornitsa and Shaun. And before we begin, I would like you all to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your companies, what AI for data management means to you, and where you are with your company when it comes to AI with data management. So I'll start with you, Scott.
Thanks, Neil. We guys met this morning already, so Scott Delaney, Head of Data for MyState Limited, which we run two banks, a wealth company and a trustee business and a asset finance company. You probably got a sense from this morning's conversation that I see AI as an enabler of data governance and doing it faster, smarter, and taking away some of the legwork, if you like. And certainly we are getting benefit from that. I won't steal too much of the conversation from the rest of the discussion this afternoon in the panel, but we are using it already to classify data, to find data, and even to break down the barriers of getting people to adopt their role in data management.
Zornitsa?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be today with you and share a little bit of our experience. My name is Zornitsa Manolova, and I've been fascinated by machine learning, neural nets since my computer sciences study, and since then I'm looking for good opportunities to use AI in a meaningful way. In my current role, I'm leading the data quality management and data science team at GLEIF. GLEIF stands for Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation. It is a non-for-profit Swiss foundation, and we're tasked to manage a network of partners, the LAI issuing organizations, and basically to ensure the operational stability of the global LAI system. A lot of LAI here. So what the LAI is, very briefly, the LAI stands for Legal Entity Identifier. It is an ISO standard for uniquely identification of legal entities across the globe. It connects also to key reference data and answers two main questions: who is who and who owns whom. I think it is a privilege to be able to work with highly standardized data, such as the LAI, which gives a very good foundation for implementing advanced analytics and AI-driven innovation. And I'll stop here, and I hopefully will have the opportunity to share more practical experience later.
Definitely. Thank you. And Shaun?
Does it work? Yep. I'm a data guy, not a technology guy. Yeah, I work for the EDM Association. So a lot of you I've taught DCAM and CDMC, but I'm still, I am still the only one in the idiom that teaches all our frameworks, DCAM, CDMC, and a knowledge graph. And most of my experience has been actually now that finally, as Jim and I joke about, we've hit our sweet spot with AI-ready data and knowledge graphs, that I've been teaching and also implementing knowledge graphs and FIBO for European banks. We started back in 2012, so basically doing it ever since then. So this is nothing new, and it's great to finally see that with AI, that without ontologies, semantic models, stuff that Jim talked about, human in the loop, your AI is going to hallucinate, you won't get value from AI, as well as the one thing that AI can't handle is context and meaning. So for those of you who don't have a semantic model or knowledge graph capabilities, you're not going to accelerate AI other than just doing testing or sandboxing. So most of my experience, but not doing training, is to help organizations with the knowledge graph, how to unbox FIBO for those of you who've understood it, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, as well as semantic modeling, which is not easy if you read a book, but us with the association I think we're the leaders in providing easy to understand semantic modeling training with AI sort of being that AI-ready data. So really focusing on that niche area, being the main areas of best practice and standards, particularly with DCAM version 3. I really recommend those who haven't done DCAM at version 3 and with components 3 and 4, which we're about to talk about, is really the sweet spot with AI-ready data, with data cataloging, metadata management. So that's my main focus.
Thank you very much. As you can see, a very robust and very strong panel coming to this topic around AI for data management being a game changer. So while we are keen for this to be a conversation, I have prepared some questions, but we'd love to also hear from you and also from you joining us remotely from wherever you might be. So please feel free. I've got about 5-10 minutes worth of questions, but then feel free to ask your own. And then if there's anyone online, I think Andrew or Ella will be taking care of those online questions. But to get started, I'll start with you, Scott, if that's okay, and ask. You've emphasized that AI should be pragmatic and action-based. Can you share examples of how Gen AI has helped solve real-world data management challenges at MyState?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a couple of examples. And one of the very early ones we tried was to use Gen AI to help populate our data catalogue. We use Elation so that we do get the benefit of out-of-the-box sort of lineage and the like, but it's as good as the data models are, it doesn't bring the business context to play there. And that blank sheet of paper, when you realise you've got 10,000 objects to somehow document, and it just seems too big to tackle. So we brought in, by Elation, we could utilise Gen AI to start to populate the information about what the models meant in the business and what the actual data points meant in the business. And that meant that we created the illusion of scale, and it's easier to get people to put their shoulder to the wheel when they think others are doing it as well. And so nothing there, no one starts. Populate it with Gen AI to give you good context, which you need to be clear might need to be improved, gets things going really well. We're also playing right now with a bit more cutting edge or a bit sexier use of Gen AI, if you like, getting voice agents to respond to queries. So we've got a phone number set up that people in my organisation can call and ask questions about data management. Well, I'm bringing on a new supplier. What should I do? What do I have to do? Who do I have to talk to? What haven't I thought about? We're a small team. I've got about 15 people across all of data for our organisation, not just governance, and therefore we're bottlenecked. But having this ability to actually use Gen AI to read all our standards for our policies, and not just the data policies, but also the procurement policies, to have people be able to ask a question without judgment, without fear of looking silly for not knowing the answer, and get the feedback. Very early days for us, but I think it will give us a great chance to lift the organisation more broadly, because everybody can play their part without feeling like they actually have to know the world.
I think the most obvious follow-up is, what voice have you chosen? Can we have celebrities?
Well, depends who you ask. It likely will be it's not yet my voice, but there is a strong push to have it in my voice. So celebrities, absolutely.
Christopher Walken answering my questions, excellent. Moving on to Zornitsa. GLEIF is using Gen AI to improve data quality in some very niche but powerful ways that you've already talked about a little bit. Can you walk us through how you're implementing AI models to help standardize, develop, and formalize data quality for organizations across Europe?
Yes, certainly. So I would share one use case where we have used AI to standardize, to build a model that helps organizations to standardize also their data. And it might be a little bit a niche tool. However, I hope it serves for you as an example and inspires you to do something similar. So as mentioned, the LEI data is highly standardized. And one of the standards that we are using is the ISO 20275 for entity legal forms identification. So there is a 4-digit alphanumeric code to specify the legal form of an entity. Why is this important? Because company LTD is not the same as company LTD. Because LTD might be an abbreviation for a limited company by shares, but also for a limited company by guarantees. And these two are backed up by different legal requirements. Therefore, they are two different companies. Similar situation with company LTD in Australia is not the same as the one in New York, and not the same as the one in Delaware, because there are two different jurisdictions, New York and Delaware. And when comes this to play, it is very important, the part of the legal form, especially for identification of legal entities, and especially when it comes to mapping exercises. And I'm sure in any single organization there is one day somebody comes and say, hey, I have this additional data set, can we merge them, and what are the overlaps, and what are the duplicates, and so on and so forth. So this is basically the challenge, and with a standardized data, this could be overcome much easier, this mapping exercise. But I also recognize that it's also a challenge to implement and to introduce a new standard in an already built up data model in the organization. So what we did is we used the LEI data as a labeled data set, and we built an AI tool using also transformer models to suggest a legal form code based only on the name and jurisdiction of the entity. And of course, this works good, or even better in some jurisdictions. Some jurisdictions, it doesn't work at all. For example, in France, the legal form is not part of the legal name, so it cannot work. In any case, this tool is described in a scientific paper, which is published on arXiv. It is an open source tool, and I just realized that we don't have a model for Australia, but I would be very happy to work with anybody with you to build one. I already discussed this with my team, and it would be great if we can work together and develop a new model.
I think like Eurovision, if Australia can join the European area, that'd be fantastic. Moving on now to Shaun. You sort of mentioned that the new DCAM v3 has placed increased emphasis with regard to making organisations AI management ready. What does that journey look like for Australian organisations ready to tackle data management with AI?
Okay, so let's be really, speaking of Europe, let's be really honest. Australia's behind Europe and US in terms of AI-ready data, or what we call modern data management. But there's a bit of a reset because of version 3 that most companies obviously haven't gone through, there's a few going through. And it basically means that, as Jim mentioned, with the architectures being like the business and data and technical architecture, you need all three for AI-ready data. And we're seeing a lot of, hence most of the hallucinations, or a lot of like the report that came out recently from the MIT where 95% of AI aren't basically creating value in use cases. A lot of this is down to the poor data management of the organizations. So basically you need to combine context and meaning with the architecture of your metadata management, your data cataloging, but also how does that data, that common language and shared meaning that needs to be machine readable, hence AI. And you can't, Gen AI can't do it for you, and you can't just copy and paste something from a book. You have to do it yourself. So what version 3 does is that provide you the framework and the accelerators to do that in a safe and repeatable way. So almost like doing patterns. So I'm an architecture, when I worked for the banks, in architecture that you can accelerate via patterns. So version 3, in components 3 and 4, are basically like standardized patterns that will accelerate you towards AI-ready data. And it's one of the leading frameworks that do that. Gartner talks about it with AI-ready data, and they point to the same stuff we do on the EDM Council, having a semantic layer, metadata management, and a knowledge graph, but they don't tell you the how. So using a combo of Gartner as our framework with the EDM Council, you accelerate towards the most important part, value for AI. So that's the big things, and it's best practice, as opposed to if you go to a vendor today regarding AI, they're only seeing their piece of the AI. So you're lacking interoperability and you're lacking shared meaning across the organization because they're one piece of the AI orchestration that you need to basically integrate across your organization. So for those who have multiple systems and platforms and applications, DCAM helps you have interoperability and integration that will scale. And these are the 3 things that you need to do to be successful in AI: scale, integrate, and have that shared meaning.
I like that DCAM V3 really helps with accelerators and that framework to help companies get started. Speaking of getting started, Scott, you've said that AI can overcome the where do we start problem with data governance. What does that look like for organizations that feel overwhelmed with legacy systems and fragmented data? And how can AI help with that?
Well, I think it's a discovery piece here as well. It's what you don't know that might kill you in data risk I've learned along the way. It's easy to say we know where our data is and we know what it looks like. And that's a very safe spot to sit there and talk to an exec or a board about because it sounds good. But what I would recommend, and I would suspect in most companies, it's actually getting your arms around where your problems lie and the breadth of them that's actually going to do you a service in the long run. You really don't want to come at this undercutting the job to be done. And so AI is a discovery tool to figure out where that 65 copies of your custom database are sitting across your organisation, or where you've who knows what's happened because of a past practice that was done with all the right intent, but without the same focus we have today on data risk. How you get that and how AI helps discover and set the scene for the job to be done so you can properly fund that and properly stage it over time. No one's going to win if you come in with a half-baked program and then along the way discover, oh no, I've missed those 4, 5 or 500 things. So AI as that discovery agent, I think, is really useful to get hands across what's really has to be done.
Well, thank you. Zornitsa, moving on to talking about the open source and open data philosophy that GLEIF has, you've also stressed that the ethics and explainability should be central to AI and data management. How do you balance the transparency with the complexity when deploying models at scale?
2 key aspects come to my mind. First of all, being the human role, and the second, transparency. For the first one, we see AI as an assistant to the human and not as a substitute. I'll give you an example. Another use case we have implemented and we're building right now is a ontology-based AI model to help us create the data quality checks in our data quality framework. And currently, the system works, there is a policy that describes how the data needs to be recorded and how it needs to be connected. And the usual process is very manual extraction and also could lead to different results when 2 different human beings with different backgrounds read the policy. There are a lot of room for interpretation. And this then to the implementation. So what we have done is we have built a process incorporating an AI model to extract this information through the different steps to the implementation of the data quality check. And of course, we need the human being at the end or somewhere in the loop to verify the outcome, because at the end, the AI models, they are kind of smart, but not as smart to be able to judge their own outcome. So this leaves a lot of time for the team to focus more on the creative part of the work and not, Googling how to code a specific part of the job. And maybe to the second point about the transparency, with the increasing number of AI models and a lot of one derives from another, I think it becomes paramount to have a way to identify and kind of assign a identifier to the different models, which will be then associated with certain accountability. Luckily, there's a global community looking already into this area, and we are collaborating with a professor, Damien Bort, from the University of St. Gallen, who is dedicating his time exactly in researching this area. And he makes a very good analogy. This is like identifying your AI model should be similar to the license plate of a car, where you link the license plate to the chassis of the car. However, the challenge here is what defines the identity of AI model. Is it the topology? Are the weights? And so there is a lot of potential in this area, which is very, very exciting, but it's good to see that there's already a lot of work doing.
Thank you. And finally, Shaun, last year you presented at the EDM Association a webinar on data fabric to enable AI. As more organizations move towards different models to adopt AI more broadly, how can organizations empower the teams who historically haven't seen themselves as management or data governance teams? And how do we build that awareness and shared responsibility across those more business teams who probably in the past haven't been as involved?
Yeah, and this is probably the biggest problem we hear all the time, is that these silos of organizations where technology and business have always been working in silos. If you don't get these guys to talk to each other, and more so now cross-functional, you're not going to succeed with AI. It's going to be slow, painful, and then you're going to have a tech stack that talks to the machine but no context or meaning because the business aren't involved. So it's actually those successful organizations that we have that we've been members, as well as hence the data fabric, that a lot of the organizations in Europe and US and a couple here in Australia most recently, is that they've been building out cross-functional teams but resetting their knowledge and the capabilities, but they get trained together, which means that you actually get this domain experience across the teams, but they have a common language, hence with the DCAMs and also their own context at the same time. And with AI, and let's be specific about AI being Gen AI, the knowledge graph, semantic model, these are all brand new capabilities for most people. So all these people need to learn this stuff together, and hence when you have that shared meeting, hence like a fabric, which means that you're learning capabilities, you're learning patterns, and you're understanding that technology needs to understand the business questions, and the business need to understand what technology talks to each other for interoperability and also integration. These are all shared responsibilities. It's not like the business goes at the end and then chatbot give the questions, and technology don't wait for the business to give you all the answers. It needs to be like a piecemeal modular process working in sprints. Hence, test your design like a fabric, then basically validate that the actual questions are actually adding value to the business, and also test the technology. That with AI, almost every tool these days is calling itself AI tools. If you go to the Gartner vendor halls and everything else, like this year in London, almost every tool had its name AI attached to it, and most of them aren't doing AI. So a lot of, it's like a circus. And we see these, a lot of them aren't members of the council, but we know that A lot of these capabilities, they don't actually do out of the box. They're just demos. So you need to test these tools, hence in your fabric, that they actually play with your other tools inside your own organization, because most tools in the landscape of AI at the moment don't talk to each other. The Google stacks, the Microsoft stacks, the AWS stacks, they work in their own streams. And a lot of organizations we meet, they go, oh, I didn't realize that, but they paid for the licenses. So the fabric helps you separate, hence the frameworks that we teach, away from the technology, and then have usability with the business and technology to understand together, is this the way we want to work with it towards the AI prioritization and use cases that's going to save costs, it's going to scale and increase usability. And that's the same for every organization. There's no organization that is immune to this. So getting your hands dirty, doing like MVPs, don't go for big bangs, working in sprints, but also understand all these new tools and separate the cowboys on one side and the other ones who actually know what they're doing and actually can support you with their trained people in AI, and not just go along for the AI ride that is like we hear a lot now, choose your own adventure. Don't choose your own adventure. Follow frameworks, follow hence fabrics. Gartner has good designs, there's other fabrics. It gets used more often now, but it's more about create your own fabric, which helps have a shared language, shared meaning, and integration patterns, and then the tool stacks that are out there that work for you. And that's changing all the time. They were saying the catalogs are changing so fast that what was around last year has changed completely. And even the cloud catalogs, in 12 months, they've changed massively around. So you have to keep your fabric up to date. Don't just sit still and think, I'm done for 3 years. So the iterative approach, as well as being having the business and technology, like come to these events together, like going to Gartner and other conferences, have your teams come together and understand rather than divide and conquer. So that teamwork, I know it's cliche, but for the AI, which is super complex, it's not beat around the bush, having the teams work together and learn from each other is probably the greatest success factors you're going to have. Then if you're going to have silos, you're guaranteed to be on the slow train, and most of it's going to derail because of people haven't realised what's going to connect.
Thank you. Let me pick up my AI-empowered microphone. Now we're going to open up to the open.
I'm a chatbot, am I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Open up to any questions anyone in the audience or anyone online. I'll get us started by asking a question to the panel of, over the last 5 to 10 years or so, many organizations could be characterized as being reactive towards data management. How can we be more proactive with AI governance, and what lessons should we carry forward? I'll open up to anyone.
I'll sort of riff on that with my prior theme around discovery, and one of the things that I think AI has been really good at is finding sensitive data, and these are the things that we need to protect. We steward data for our customers and for our staff, and we're all, I'm assuming, in the same boat or largely in the same boat. And the ability of AI to find what you don't know and what no one thought you would possibly have because it's been hidden away in the dark room for 25 years is really quite powerful.
I was going to say, you hear a lot about guardrails. So when you put like a data, like with shared data together for like LLMs to learn from, a lot of that data is sensitive, it's privacy related, and it has particular purposes that a lot of people don't protect. So having guardrails regarding who can access the data, and it's particularly with machines. So we hear about agentic AI, and it's great. And some of the IT don't realize that if you have APIs talking to your data that is sensitive and shouldn't be exposed without the guardrails and governance, you're actually going to be in a lot of trouble with regulators as well as the clients. So having these guardrails at every layer across your AI, from the data management, the data catalog, all the way up to the AI, especially the models and the prompts, these are the things that don't just do it around the big picture, go around the modular, because if you get, like we're seeing a lot here in Australia, if your data gets leaked or exposed or basically out to a chatbot, these days the consequences are pretty high. So having guardrails and the governance is super important, not just do it as an afterthought or do it at the end, do it along the way.
Dennis, do you want to add anything to that or move on to the next question?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Perfect. We've got a couple of questions from teams that have come through. First one I'll ask is, with the regulatory changes in superannuation, how is DCAM v3 likely to take next steps in value creation? Anyone willing to take that on?
Well, great question. That I think every component in version 3 is about value creation because of, end of the day, if you don't get your data ready, not just for AI, but just for like consumption, you're not going to be creating value. So, and hence it's agnostic that yes, for super, it's obviously important, but the main focus is on, hence every component is, who am I doing this for? Who's consuming it? And is this creating value for the end user? And that every component is going to be the technology people in one component. It's going to be the business, the board, and then you get to the like component 8, for example, for the analytics or reporting. Are those end users in their dashboards or their AI models? Are they creating value? So you shouldn't just focus in isolation. Every part of it, you should be looking at value as your threshold in terms of, am I overcooking it? A lot of times, I came from the business before I became more technology. Technology would always overcook these things, and you go, hey, how's this creating value for the organisation? Because I fall in love with the technology. So always ask yourself, is this creating value to the end user? And then prioritise how much value. But if it's not creating value, you should be stopping using those components because there's nobody's going to be using it. So it's wasted effort.
Cool. Thank you. Anyone else want to add anything? Next question? Oh, okay. Other question from teams we have is, how can we make sure that the metadata captured by AI is of good quality? We don't really want data quality problems with our metadata. Couldn't agree more.
That's a great question. And you've got an answer for me because I don't know yet. This is the thing in this space. Things are moving so quickly. It's a matter of asking the right questions, I think, and being aware of the challenges so that even if you don't know the solution, you look out for the pitfalls. And I sat down yesterday afternoon with one of our AI vendors who I talk to probably once a month, and I'm amazed how much things shift between our conversations. And for me, I can't possibly be across the level of detail that these people are working at, but I can ask the right questions to make sure we don't go down a box canyon.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Like you hear a lot of, throughout the themes this year and last year, metadata management is absolutely critical. And it's more about getting granular in terms of the 3 main types of metadata. So business, technical, and operational, which means that, hence, for example, like we use the analogy that the business metadata actually describes on your products, like data products, and things, is understand for the business. And then the technical metadata, like barcodes, can be read for machines. So it's actually getting detailed about what are the main types of metadata and who are the best people who actually know that metadata, but it's actually having all 3 because of otherwise you're going to have business going, what's this barcode mean? Or technology going, why is it all this natural text but not in a barcode or a QR code? So it's actually getting those 3 main types of metadata that different users of data can understand, trust the data, look at the lineage, and then with graph and knowledge graphs and semantic models, they all need metadata. So your graphs and your ontologies and your AI is as good as the metadata underneath it. So it's really focusing on those from the SME to know that the best, and in the format that can be understood and read, and then hence interoperability to data catalogs that you're using as sort of the foundations to those.
I think independent whether we are talking about data or the metadata underneath, I think what is important is to have the gateways, as you just described, built in a solid, robust, but not a bureaucracy like data governance. And then it will become a smooth process and ensuring the quality and the existence of this data that could be then afterwards used, independent whether it is AI related or not.
Thank you. Any questions from the room before I ask my penultimate question? Someone at the back, yes.
Really address the business requirement for that quality. That's the first question. And the second question is, should we not be talking about this as total quality management? Because it's not just data, it's quality of the models, it's quality of the content, the records, everything that goes into these AI systems. And so many times I've heard people say the problem with data quality is the word data, because people don't think that it's got anything to do with them.
Yeah, interesting question indeed. So, at least for the LEI data, there's a high expectation of the quality about it. And therefore, we have built this framework, which is also, by the way, also open source and available to the public to review and also, add to it. Regarding fit for purpose, this is something that we regularly review with our partners and also the regulatory oversight committee, which is the regulator for the global LEI system. And indeed, data quality with regards to the AI model, you're absolutely right. It is not just the quality of the data, but it is the quality of the models and the quality of the output. And I gave this example how we built a model based on our data. And what is important to understand is that we had to have a certain level of quality, otherwise this model wouldn't work. And what we did afterwards is also to apply this model to our own data. And we also identified certain discrepancies between what the model suggests and what the data has recorded. But this gave us the opportunity to address these items and to review again the information and to even improve further the quality. And this was this kind of a continuous improvement process with kind of a feedback loop and further development. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much. We have less than 2 minutes left. So I want to have one last question for the entire panel as quickly as possible. What's one low-risk, high-impact way organizations could start to use AI for data management today?
I'll go back to my earlier comment. I think discovery of sensitive data, huge risk for many organisations, an easy win. We spend a bit of time trying to find the right tool or a tool that will work for us. And literally, I spend, I think, less than 15 grand a year for that tool, which de-risks my organisation, I'd imagine, to the tune of millions.
Zornitsa?
Low risk, high impact.
Yep.
Then I will go for training and upskilling of the teams to be able to use the tools for data management and to apply also AI-driven innovation in the organisation.
Thank you. And Shaun?
I'm going to talk about from experience is basically two things. Number one is, without being biased, is training, because without better training, you could like blow up the blind lead in the blind. But then the other part is actually customize your training into playbooks, because that gets you in the language that your business understands, so your company understands, in the way that they want to use AI. So the training provides you the foundations. The playbook provides you the patterns and also the ways of working that relate to your own organisation, and you bind the two together. And that accelerates basically progress. It gets buy-in, as well as it's low risk, because playbooks basically you do it yourself. You don't buy it from McKinsey or these other guys or Gartner that charge you a fortune. And then that also it gets reusability. So and our training isn't as expensive as Gartner's and or BCG's, so it's low risk and cheap and high quality.
Much. Thank you. Nice plug there. Thank you to all my panelists for this afternoon's thoughtful session. I encourage you all to reach out to the continued conversation. There's plenty of questions we didn't get to, so please feel free to reach out to these three esteemed guests. I'd like to thank you all for joining today's conversation. I encourage you also to join the Global EDM Association AI Governance Working Group that's just kicked off a couple months ago now. For more information, you can reach out to Andrew or Ella, or find information on the EDM Association website. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the conference.